Welcome to the Forward Marketing Podcast, the podcast that covers internet marketing strategies and leadership tactics to move your business forward. With your host, Joshua Jarvis. Hey, and welcome back to the Forward Marketing Podcast. I am your host, Joshua Jarvis. So excited to be here today. I really hope that you enjoyed last week's episode. The 7 growth hacking tactics for Facebook growth. We really came out with the 3x3 sort of formula, if you will. Even made an infographic for you guys. So if you haven't heard that episode, go back and listen to it. Probably one of the best ones I think I've done when it comes to being concise and giving you some actionable content when it comes to Facebook. Facebook tends to be the most requested thing I get via email on techniques on how to grow Facebook. Even though Facebook's kind of dying down, it's still a very valuable place. So if you ever hear me talk negative about Facebook or any of the social network for that matter, if there's people there, then there's probably value there to have. And one of the other topics that comes up quite a bit is YouTube for me. So today's episode is going to be the 7 keys to YouTube success. And, spoiler alert, a lot of the content today is going to be stuff that you've heard before. Why? Because, frankly, to succeed on YouTube, to succeed on Facebook, to succeed on Instagram, or any of these, it really is to sort of bring value and be who you are. Even if you're a business, you can have a sort of identity and being authentic and actually just sort of going for the audience that going after your ideal customers and not really targeting, not saying anyone. And so that's really what the success of any of these social media things are going to be about. And this is actually the success for. There's some technical aspects to, say, SEO, for instance, search engine optimization. There's certainly things that you need to know technically to have the page be optimized. But as far as content is concerned, good quality content is actually the same sort of thing, knowing your audience and that sort of thing. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with the 7 keys of YouTube success. And so the first one is going to be know your subject. If you're going to do something, particularly on YouTube or any video medium where you're going to be coming, or like a podcast or anything like that, you're going to need to have a subject matter that you can actually talk about for a long period of time. Now, luckily, if you're listening to this, you're a business owner, you probably know a lot about your business. I could do a podcast or a YouTube show about real estate. I spent a lot of time in real estate. I could do one like I'm doing now about marketing. But I couldn't do one about, taxes. I couldn't do one about financial planning. I really, really enjoy learning about cryptocurrency, but I could not do an episode about that unless I dived into it. So you've got to know your subject very deep so that you can actually prepare the show. So like if you wanted to do have success in YouTube, for instance, you're going to have to do a consistent show. And so you're going to have a very deep understanding of the subject matter that you're going to want to do. So that's step 1. Step 2 is knowing your audience. So not only do you need to know the subject, but you also need to know the audience that you're speaking to. And if you haven't done this test or you haven't done this before, then you really need to sort of dial down to who you are talking to. So I use real estate examples a lot because it's kind of like the cool. It's almost like the perfect small business, right? So, and pretty much anyone can do it, and most people at some point in their life interact with one, so it's very relatable. So, a real estate agent, say they know a lot about real estate, but you think about you're only interested in real estate a certain part of your lifetime because you're only going to move a certain part of your lifetime. How could you make it interesting? Well, HGTV has made billions of dollars on people's desire to understand or to learn or to be entertained by information around the home. So a real estate agent is a perfect person to be able to deliver a YouTube channel or a podcast or anything like that, to be able to they have all this content because they're in and around homes every day. But let's say they're talking about homes, and let's also say that they're like, oh, I want to increase my price point. I want to, so they have to target the people they want to talk to. So in some cases, let's take that real estate agent for example. If like when I was doing it, for instance, a lot of first-time home buyers sort of resonated with me. I guess I looked younger or whatever, but I also was willing to walk them through it. So yeah, I'd be probably do a very good, popular sort of YouTube first-time home buyer channel. Whereas a lot of agents I talk to, they want to increase their price point. So what they're going to have to do is talk about the things that are important to people at a higher price point. If you had an e-commerce store, so I have a friend that has a store where they sell supplements, and it has its own set of problems. But if he did a review of that, or he talked and not only did a review of each product, but also talked to the audience. So if his audience were, say, 50 and over for these kind of supplements, then he would need to talk to that audience. And yes, that audience is on YouTube, and they're also on Facebook. And so you need to understand your audience. You need to understand how old they are. Are they male or female? What are some cultural trends that they're actually into right now? Those sort of things. So once you know your audience, once you understand your subject, which hopefully you would know that already, you need to get really, really laser focused. And I remember a networking lesson that I learned was, if you ever been to a Chamber of Commerce meeting or anything like that, what happens is you come in, you sit down, and a lot of times they'll go around the room, and you have anywhere from, if it's a large Chamber of Commerce meeting, it's like 15 seconds, and sometimes it could be a minute. And you stand up and you say, "Hey, I'm Joshua Jarvis. I run a company called Forward Marketing. We do digital marketing for clients, and right now I'm looking for anyone who wants to generate leads online." Right, so that'd be sort of your typical thing someone might say. Well, what did I do? What was my failing in that was that I said anyone. And as soon as you say anyone, that means no one, right? Because no one can think about that. So a better version of that would be, I'm looking for a small business owner that has a brick and mortar store in Buford that wants to generate online leads and grow a presence in the local community. So I've given them some ideas, right? A real estate agent might say something like, I'm looking for your neighbors, your friends, or family that are thinking about moving in the next 30 to 60 days. That's even a little bit better, right? My friend, Bo Henderson, the financial planner, he could say something along the lines of, he's looking for someone that's in the age of around 55 that's thinking about retirement already and is concerned about their pension. So if they're working for a large company like that. In fact, one time he actually asked for anyone that works for IBM or AT&T or anything like that, because he knew, because he's had clients already, that one, they make really great clients, and two, that those companies were about to try to do things to minimize their exposure, but also hurt their employees at the same time. So in any case, you need to get really, really, really laser focused on your audience. So now that you've got all that, how do you go about actually getting an idea for what to write about? How do you get titles and all that? And what's great is, I love SEO, search engine optimization, and YouTube is actually the second largest, probably largest now, maybe, I don't know, but it's the second largest search engine in the world. And I really think that it may actually surpass Google one day. I don't know, because I see how my kids, they don't use Google, they use YouTube. But in any case, it works pretty much the same way. So if you could just type in, what Google does is it gives you sort of suggestions. And so what I would do is sort of brainstorm the titles and things that you want to talk about, and I would come up with a good list. Also, you want to know what kind of, how often you want to do your show, but or your talk. It could just be a thing where you're talking, once a week. But in any case, if you type in to the search bar, it'll actually give you suggestions for the title. And so that's actually step number 3, is optimizing your titles. And that is basically when you type it in, YouTube is going to sort of try to guess what you're saying, and it's going to give you the most popular results. So just use those. So use the suggest tool is sort of your key number 3, and then optimize your title would be key number 4. So as you get these titles, obviously you want to use the titles that people are searching for, and that's how you've optimized that title. But then you can also sort of at the end put a dash, or what they call a pipe, which is that straight up and down bar, and then you put your brand name on it if you want, especially if you think this is going to be something bigger than maybe your local market. Now, once you've created your video and you've used the suggestions to create the video, and then you've created a title, you've got to fill out the description tag. So this is really, really basic. And so if you're filling out the description, you can actually write about what the video is about. Now, one of the helpful hints here is using sort of SEO tactics that you would normally use in writing. And so if you need any help with SEO tactics, you feel free to contact me at joshua@forwardmarketing.com, or you can just go back and listen to some of our old SEO episodes. One of the best ones was the SEO FAQ episode. And we can talk about descriptions and all that. But some of the old school SEO things sort of work on YouTube in a sense where YouTube uses the description to sort of guess a little bit about what's about your episode. So you don't want to stuff it full of keywords, but you definitely want to put enough information in there, and you want to use it to the fullest extent that you have. And so write a description about what it is. I would repeat the title in there or rephrase the title in other ways. Now, if you did... sort of a pro tip, if you took and made a list of all the things that pop up, so let's say you wanted to write about real estate as that same example again, and you typed in some different real estate related words, and you saw all these lists of things, and so you wrote them down, and maybe you made a video that hits 2 or 3 of these different lists, then I would add those to the description. But again, write in a way that a human would read it, and not a way that looks like it's spammy. The other thing that you want to do is there is a section on there, and so this is I guess this is sort of step number 5, and it's called tags. And tags are no longer used in SEO for the most part. Some WordPress sites still use them, but YouTube uses them heavily. And so tags are like keywords. And so yes, this is the place where you want to stuff the tags. It's the equivalent of sort of hashtag stuffing in Instagram, and you just want to use as many tags as possible that are related to your video. So you don't want to use any tags that aren't related to your video, and you don't want to do anything that you shouldn't do. So have a sort of pro tip. Now, there is a WordPress extension that you can sign up for called I think it's YouTube Buddy, and I'll put this in the show notes. But essentially what it does is it sort of installs this little thing onto YouTube as you're using it. So when you upload it, it says, hey, you want to optimize your do you want to optimize your video? And of course you say yes. And so it gives you some suggestions on tags. It gives you some suggestions on titles. It'll give you the opportunity to create your own thumbnail, which I highly recommend. And so YouTube Buddy has become sort of the secret way to sort of do this yourself. They have a premium version. It looks like it's worth it, but you can definitely use the free version to do that. So you know your subject, you know your audience, you've done your video, you've optimized your title, your description, your tag. So how else are you, because that's not enough to just get it to work, is it? I mean, you can't just post a video and they will come. No, unfortunately, that's not going to work. So what are you going to have to do? You're going to have to bring value. So that's really step number 6, sorry. And you're going to have to bring value. And so what I always suggest to people is that one, they've always, like the frequently asked questions is always such a great one to do, because you're always answering these questions. You're always bringing value to customers when you do that. And they really, really like it. And so you could do that. There's a lot of people asking questions. It's a great way to get to know you. It's the perfect sort of go-to for that. But if you're just kind of struggling with that, I don't want to give away my secrets. There's a study out, and I forget what it was, but it's something like 98% of people who go to conferences do nothing with the information. People who go and learn how to do something from an expert rarely ever implement it. And so I wouldn't worry about competition. In fact, really the mindset shouldn't be worried about the 2% that might do it. It's sort of have that abundance mindset that there's enough business to go around, and you're there to add value to people. So whether you're giving away tips and tactics that maybe would help a competitor or help someone do it themselves or not, is not the point. There's going to be people out there who want to pay for the convenience, and they've connected with you. And that's the whole point of it all, is that yes, like I do SEO, for instance, for a lot of clients, and I also do some web design for clients. And, WordPress makes it so easy for people to do that on their own that I'm not really, I shouldn't have a job. I mean, according to technology, right, I should be replaced. But yet a lot of people do prefer to have the convenience of having someone that knows what they're doing take care of it and pay for it. And so that's I think that's always going to be the case, is that there's going to be people who want to do it themselves. There's going to be people who want to pay for an expert. And this is where these videos can come into play, is that yes, you're going to and this is a great filtering tool, is that someone can watch your video and do it themselves and they don't contact you. But you don't lose anything because that person would want to do it themselves anyway, right? So you're sort of, anyone who reaches through the video is a great qualified client. And this is the whole reason why you'd want to get on YouTube in the first place, is to get that. So you want to bring value. And when it comes to YouTube, the only thing that really matters in ranking is watch time. Yes, you can optimize the title, you could optimize the description, you can optimize the tags, you could really come up with a really high production video, you could do a great thumbnail, you could even do a marketing blitz for the video, and it will help it rank, it will help it pop up. But if the watch time is not there, then they're gone. It's really the equivalent of the bounce rate in Google. So if you're a SEO person and you're listening to this, and but YouTube is like foreign to you, then really think of watch time as bounce rate. If no one watches the video and they bounce to another video, then that is going to hurt your ranking, and that's really going to be a big deal for you. So you want your video to be as engaging as possible. You want to bring as much value. You don't want to leave anything sort of on the sidelines. And so, what some people do is sort of gimmicky, but what they do is they have sort of, set intros and set outros with teases to make people want to watch them. I see this a lot with what my son watches, is the sort of the Fortnite videos. And some of these guys are really brilliant. What they'll do is they'll tease something in the video that he really wants to see, maybe someone riding a rocket or a missile or whatever. Or someone builds this crazy thing, or someone finds a glitch in the game, and it's really funny. But the video actually puts it in the middle. You've also seen this where people will put parts of the video that you really wanted to see. Now, a lot of this, they sort of game the young adult males. They'll put a person in a bathing suit on the thumbnail, or they'll put a person in the bathing suit and the first second, and then they'll say, hey, it's going to be in the middle of the video. So you've got to watch the whole video to get there. And that's how they're sort of gaming that. I don't encourage you to game it. I encourage you to become professional about your broadcasting and sort of tease it. And I don't do a great job of that. I'm kind of a get to the point sort of guy. But anyway, so bring value, bring a ton of value, and really think about how can I increase the watch time of the video. Not how to make this video short, but how to increase the watch time. And number 7 is post frequency. So this is both for your audience and for YouTube. If you're posting every single day, YouTube is going to give you kind of a boost. If you're posting every single week, for instance, YouTube will give you a boost. If you're consistently posting on a schedule, YouTube will give you sort of a boost. If you're posting once in 1 week, and then once a month, and then maybe twice a month, and then sometimes 3 times a month, then the only people who will see your post on YouTube are either the ones that are really optimized and super interesting, or your already current fans. So in order for this to be really successful, what you've got to do is sort of say, okay, I'm going to map out the next, let's say I'm going to do a weekly podcast, a weekly YouTube thing. I'm going to map out what I'm going to talk about for as long as I can, right? Sometimes there's things that are relevant. Like in my case, I can only do 4 or 5 episodes ahead of time, and then technology changes, or I learned something new. And so I can't just sort of map out a whole year. But for a lot of businesses, you could map out, the 52 questions that every home buyer asks, the 52 questions every person should ask their financial planner, and go through those go through that content as the video. The video time limit is it used to be, you wanted it to be around 2 minutes or 3 minutes. And now it's really about the quality of the content. If you were a video game streamer, for instance, having an hour of content is great. If you're a music person and you wanted to show off some music, then an hour is great. But if you're answering questions, then probably 2 minutes, 3 minutes is perfect. If you're going into in-depth analysis, then it could be longer. Most of my episodes, my goal was somewhere about between 15 and 20 minutes, just as we cross the 20-minute mark. So that is my goal, because when I listen to the podcast, I speed it up because I want sort of 30 minutes or less. Give me some download, and that's because that's really the only block of time I have. So in any case, that is the key. So the keys, just to remind you, are know your subject. So you've got to have a deep enough understanding to be able to plan out 52 weeks of content. Or if you're going to go bi-weekly or whatever, that's how many episodes you need to do for your YouTube channel. You need to know your audience. Is your audience going to be coming back and back and back for this, or is it something that's a little bit more sticky, like the frequently asked questions, where people always ask the same sort of questions, and so it's just great to have these videos out there. So know your audience, know your subject, get laser focused, and then use sort of SEO techniques to use YouTube's already suggested tool, where when you type it in, it'll suggest the videos. So make sure you use that, and take those titles and really optimize them. Really make sure that they're matching what people are searching for. Really you may have to change your vocabulary a little bit. And then in the description, you can use all the synonyms for those same words in the description. Make sure it says what the video is about and goes into detail. I would even throw a link into your homepage there where this video may be residing, like a blog post or something. And then tags. Make sure the tags, go ahead and stuff the tags. Use every tag you can, but make sure they're relevant to the topic, and don't put in tags that don't make sense. Worst thing that can happen to you is my son, who wants a Fortnite video, land on your real estate video and then stop watching in 2 seconds, right? So that's what your danger is whenever you try to over optimize your videos, is you get people who aren't in your audience. So definitely remember that. So know your subject, know your audience, optimize your title, your description, and your tags, and then bring value. Bring as much value as you possibly can, and post frequently. Now, and what I mean by post frequently, I'm talking more specifically about posting consistently. And that's actually a key for business. So if you're in any business that you're in at all, whether it's e-commerce, whether it's a brick and mortar store, whether you sell insurance or real estate or whatever, if you have to consistently be doing something in order to be successful at it, period. So that pretty much concludes our episode today of the 7 Keys of YouTube Success. So hopefully you enjoyed it. I know that I did preparing this, and I did a lot of research actually on this particular episode, and it was really fascinating to find that this sort of these keys were evident in all of the super successful sort of YouTube people. And yes, they had certain personalities, but there are actually some really boring people that have great YouTube channels that are doing really well as far as people watching it and people sort of following them. So don't let your personality be the thing that stops you from getting behind the camera, or in front of the camera, I should say, for YouTube. So hopefully you enjoyed that. Be sure to check out all of our old episodes at forwardmarketing.com/podcast. You'll find them all there. Feel free to reach out to me at joshua@forwardmarketing.com. That's the number 4, rdmarketing.com. And tune in next week as we've talked about all these different places, all these different things that you can do to optimize these social media things. But what if you had some content like we just talked about? You made a video, and then you maybe wrote a blog post about the video, right? And then what would you do with all this content? So we're going to talk about some 11 different places for you to post the content. Where are some places that you can share this content and actually get some traffic from it? So some of these we've talked about before, and some of them we haven't. So you're going to have to tune in next week when we talk about that. So thanks so much for listening, and make it a great one.